Thanks. Okay, Sarah, well, our third and final question today is a secondary diagnosis can bring with it a lot of anxiety about the future, and I'm aware that you're a strong proponent of living in the moment. I wonder if you could tell me what you mean by that and how you go about it in practice.
Yeah, that's fine. So, excuse me. I might have covered some of this in some of the other answers, but living in the moment to me means about not worrying or fretting about things that have happened in the past, or getting angry about the situation that you're in. And obviously, we all get angry. It's awful to be in the situation of having cancer when you've got a young family. It's horrible, but it's sometimes about trying to deal with and just accept that what's happened has happened, and if you can't do anything about it, then it's trying to try and overcome that sort of anger of unfairness. And I suppose for me, I talked through this a lot with friends, and I did sort of have counsellors where I could go through this as well, so that I really wanted to try and let go, so it wouldn't impact negatively on the time that I had left with my kids and my family. And this is such a hard thing to do, but I didn't want it to ruin the short amount of time that I had left. It's very much about living in the here and now. So focusing on, sort of being very mindful that this is where I am now. How do I feel right now? Use your senses a lot, and just thinking about taking things like day by day or hour by hour. Don't worry too much about the past or the future. So as I mentioned before, sort of doing mindfulness really helped. A lot of sort of walks in nature, a lot of just like appreciating the different senses. And as I said, hypnotherapy was really, I mean, for me, that worked really, really well. It was to help with sort of my blood phobia, but it sort of helped in all areas of my life. So, and also sort of planning things. So I sort of would plan things with family and friends, to sort of make sure that I was doing things with my time that was important to me. And sometimes it was just as simple as I went back and listened to all like the first album that I bought, it was Bananarama, and I had that on, and watching Ghostbusters and all the films and stuff that I grew up to in the 80s. And I would get sad, I remember thinking I've never watched the last series of Game of Thrones, and when we did get it, we even paid Sky so we could I could watch it, and that was like sort of a really, really good thing for me. But while I'm getting annoyed that I'm never going to be able to see Game of Thrones and all of this, it was sort of like, right, I'm going to focus on what I can do here and now. And again, all of this is easier said than done. And also, so it's about not worrying too much about the future as well, or not trying to live in the future too much, because we can't do anything about it. So I tried to find a happy compromise where I did as much as I could to prepare for the future, which was all the videos that I did for the kids, writing all the cards, sort of meeting with the celebrant to sort of plan the funeral. We did lots of financial stuff, like all the bank accounts were in my husband's name, and we got everything sorted out in that sense. And then it was like, right, that's done. I'm not going to worry too much. I'm going to concentrate on living in the here and now, and like talking to my kids, asking them about what they'd like to do in the future. And that for me was my how I try and live in the moment. So not worrying too much about what's happened in the past, or worrying about things that you can do nothing about. It can be frustrating, but if you can do nothing about it, and also not worrying about things that I can't control in the future, just living in that moment. And as I said in a previous question, we know about that our family went very insular, and that's what we did. It was just us together. And yeah, so living in the here and now, it can kind of stop that panic and that fight and flight response that we have about what we need to be doing. So again, mindfulness and hypnotherapy helped me with that. So when I was sort of given weeks to live, like the word I use is that I could stop. It wasn't I'd given up. It was that I could just stop doing all the things that I was supposed to be doing, things that I should be doing because I've read these books, and I should be doing all of these different things. And I could just stop, and visibly the weight lifted off me, and it just melted away, that fight and flight response of all the things that I needed to do with my life before I died. Ironically, I haven't had any treatment since that time, and I'm now sort of in remission. So yeah, it's interesting how it works. And I know I've mentioned my values as well. I've done a lot of work around what my values are, and I think in terms of my recovery, it was about having empowerment over my own health. And I've always done that for my job in public health. It's always about having, like, promoting people's control over their health, and having hope and love, and they're like my guiding recovery values. And my other values include sort of fairness and kindness, and I try and live my life making sure that everything I do fits around those sort of five values. So I hope that answered that question.
Thank you. Yes, it made me think of a further question, if you don't mind. You said you tried as best you could to live in the moment, but we're all human, and there are times where we go into what we've done in the past, or what we're thinking about the future, worrying about the future. I wonder if you could say how you dealt with that when you thought, I've done it again, sort of thing.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that yourself without being too critical of?
Yeah, I think for me, what really helped was doing those videos, because it went back into all of my life, and it's all about, one of the sections is about, like, at school, and it's all about friendship problems, and it's all about first relationships, and you could go back and you could really talk, really sort of discuss and dig deep into the things that happened in your life, and the things that you were proud of and the things that you weren't proud of, and how you would do things again differently if you had the chance. So that, on one level, those videos helped me go through some of that sort of, I was going to say sort of pain, really, some of the negativity that had sort of been stored up from the past. Another thing that helped, again, it was talking therapies was really good, because you could sort of, sometimes you need to actually deal with that problem. If you've got negativity coming in at you about a certain issue, you kind of need to deal with that issue for it to go away. So it's about it's that acceptance. So again, a lot of that was through sort of talking therapies, and maybe writing things down, or having certain friends that I would talk about, and just like having that moment, that emotional release of just sort of crying. So it's not about ignoring things that have gone on in the past. Sometimes it's about actually acknowledging them and dealing with them to sort of lift that burden, which can be difficult, I know.
Thank you.
Just to add another one on, what just all that you said there in terms of living in the moment, and what does a week look like day to day then now?
For me, I try and only do one or two things in a day. There's a couple of reasons for that, because my treatment's really messed up my lungs and my voice box and my throat, so I can only really do, like, I do coaching, so I do that online. So I might have like this session with you is like one block of time, and then in the evening I spend that's family time, and I walk the dog. So I live really sort of, I don't have lots going on. I do have a diary and I plan stuff in, but that's all positive stuff that links in with all of my values. So if you look at my diary, it's like every morning I do at least an hour's walk with my really troublesome dog, but I'm out there. We live right by the countryside. I'm doing all my mindfulness. Like, I don't listen to music. I don't listen to podcasts, because I need to be there listening to the birds, taking in the beautiful colours of the different leaves and all. So that's like my mindfulness. It links in with that, and I'm getting my exercise. I live at the top of a hill, so I'm doing my exercise. So that links in with that. I try and do one bit of like sort of coaching support work, like it's like what I'm doing today is that was sort of tick that box. I'm also a cancer buddy, and I support people in that way. So that sort of ticks that box as well. I've got keeping in touch with really good friends who've had a really positive impact on me. So it's interesting, but it's all linked in with values. And you know when I mentioned self-care at the beginning, I really need to look after my self-care. So that's why I only sort of book one kind of thing in a day. And people know that now. I've done lots of videos about my own self-care, that if I'm unwell and I can't leave the house because my chest is bad or I can't really talk, then I cancel things, and I don't beat myself up about it. And people might think that I'm being selfish, and a prior me might have thought I was being selfish because, oh, she's doing all what she wants to do. She's not. Why didn't she get up at like 7 in the morning and do X, Y, and Z? But I don't. I get up at 8. I sleep for 10 hours because I need that time, and that's what makes me well. So that's what helps me live. I'm digressing again, I know.
No,
sorry, but I think self-care is another one. But it's very, so obviously I've trained to become a transformational life coach, and I support people with cancer and cancer diagnosis and any sort of life coaching issues, really. And I find that so rewarding because you're just listening to people, and I practice it. I have my own coach, I have my own supervision, so I know exactly what I want to get out of my life, and I do small steps to achieve that. And I think that really helps me living in the here and now, following my core values.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Sarah, for joining us today. It's been really helpful to hear not only your own story, but how you've dealt with various things along the way. Thanks very much.
Thank you. No problem.